Here's your word for the day from Calvary in Lake Havasu. Visit us on the web at calvaryaz.com.
Well, hey there. Thanks for tuning into your word from the day from Calvary. It's good to be with you. This week, we are kicking off the last of our 7 marks of a healthy follower of Jesus. And this week's topic is giving. And the question is, am I trusting God financially? If you're still with us, I am glad to have a chance to be diving into this topic. And I hope that you really make a point to continue on this week and hear the rest of these and hear the biblical basis for this and how it's not just pastors trying to drum up some donations, but there's actually some very important and significant biblical basis for this. And it's not our favorite topic, many of us, but it's incredibly important. And as we look at God's word, there's a few things that we have to understand when it comes to our finances and our giving. And the first thing we have to understand is that God is the ultimate provider. He's the one that's provided everything. It's not our employer, the person who writes the paycheck that we get. It's not our efforts at generating some kind of useful skill or product or service. Sure, that's a part of it. But at the core of this, we understand biblically that God owns everything. He is responsible for the flow of every good and perfect thing into our life. And so He is the provider for us. That will be important for us as we unpack this topic. The second thing is that biblically, He's laid out a plan for us. He said, hey, if you want your life to go well and be blessed, here's a plan for finances. And this is helpful because if you think about it, there's financial implications to nearly every part of our life. Finances interweave with all kinds of things. And so the fact that God gives us a plan means He understands our life. He understands the challenges we're going to face. And He's like, hey, here's some tools. Here's a plan because you're going to need it. But the last thing is that we understand if we follow His financial plan, He has promised to bless us. Now, what that blessing is, we'll come back to in a little bit. So let's take a look. Proverbs chapter 3 is the first of the passages we're going to look at in this study. And verses 9 and 10 say this. It says, honor the Lord with your wealth and with the first fruits of all your produce. Then your barns will be filled with plenty and your vats will be bursting with wine. Now, there's a few things that shows us here. If we can move past the agricultural language for a little bit, it first shows us that God's plan for our finances is for us to give back to Him out of our income. It says out of our first fruits. We are to give and trust Him with our wealth. Now, I'm assuming you don't get paid in like bushels of strawberries. So first fruits is maybe not a helpful language for us today, but out of our income, out of our paycheck, out of the net increase to our life, we're to be giving back to God. Biblically, elsewhere it explains that the plan for this is a tithe, or literally translated 10% of our income. If you receive $1,000, $100 of that, God asks you to give back to Him. Why? Well, first, it's because it's an acknowledgement that you go, hey, God, you're actually the one who gave me all this. It's you following His plan and saying, hey, you asked me to do this, I'm going to do it. But it's also an act of trust, saying, I know you're going to continue to provide for my needs, and I know that this is going to teach me to be someone who is generous with my life. So we see the plan in this passage, but also verse 10, it says, your barns will be filled with plenty and your vats will be bursting with wine. I don't have a barn or the Havasu equivalent, an RV garage. And I don't drink wine or have vats of wine at my house. But what this is saying is that your life is going to be abundantly blessed if we trust God in this area. Now, it may not be financially, it may not be with an RV garage or vats of wine to drink, but it may be with great and fruitful relationships. It might be with joy and peace in your life. It might be in some opportunities to serve and make a difference in this world for God. I don't know what the blessing is, but I know that if we trust God, He's going to bless us. So this week, as we talk about this topic, if you're already in a place where you're tithing, be encouraged and be reminded of how important that is, and just get a renewed sense of purpose in that. If you're not, let me challenge you to start doing this, not because I said so, but because God's word lays out that this is His plan for you and your life will be blessed. I want you to be blessed. And I want you to see the fruit of what God will do. So let me challenge you. If you're not at that place, pray about it and continue to tune into these videos so you can see the plan that God has for your life and how you'll be blessed if you follow it. We'll see you next time.